just one piece of this pretty large, complex application. This is our MES application here that I'm working in. So this is an existing application. I set up a new tenant. I installed the app. I went to the Fuse packages. Right, so we'll talk about that real quick. I went to available packages. I came in here. I found my MES full option, and I installed it. Right, just like you would do on any application. You can do a manual install as well. So if you're a customer watching this, currently you do not have the direct ability to, what I would say, publish your app into available packages. So what you can do is you can create a package, and then if you need to install that into other sites or other tenants, you can just do a manual installation. The is coming in the future. So if you're watching this video and that feature is already there, then you'll know that this video is a little outdated. We can see which packages have been installed. So in here, as you can see, we do a lot of testing in here. This is actually my demo environment. So there's a lot of random things that we've installed here and test and play around. So this is a package. A package is typically an entire application. So it's going to include all your data models, screens, documents, security policies, everything. What goes into that package is not automatic. You define the package. You literally go through and table by table and screen by screen and element by element, you select what's going to be in that package. So it's important that you're mindful when building a package of what your dependencies are, right? So we did that way for a number of reasons, because it's easier for you as an app builder for your organization to go in and create a patch, right? So if you've already built an app and then your users provide feedback and maybe there's a bug, maybe there's an issue, or maybe there's a new feature add-on you want to do, you can do that in your base app dev site, and then you can do little patches, right? So a package could be a small enhancement or a new feature to an existing application that is dependent on, of course, that baseline. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, almost to a fault, but this is not something that we will cover in this particular series, because we're just building a small component that we're going to focus on Workcenter management for our MES application. So this would apply, though, to pretty much anything, right? Workcenters are considered master data from an MES standpoint. So it could be the same concept if we talked about products or SKUs or items or a customer or a vendor or anything that would be master data. So we're going to start at the very beginning, and I will show you what we do to build Workcenter management. So first of all, I'm in my schema designer. So this particular video is going to focus entirely on how we build the schema or the data model, right? And again, like we mentioned before, we use a Mongo database in Fuse. So it's a very flexible document style database, but we use it in kind of a hybrid fashion, which is sort of unique to Fuse, in that we build relations between the different models, just like you would normally see with SQL. The reason we do that is because we want to build applications that are very extensible and flexible, and that you don't have to re-enter the same data multiple times. For example, we have the shift group here that gets associated with my Workcenter. So that defines the collection or the list of shifts that defines the availability for this particular Workcenter. So I've created a separate table out here called shift group with a name, a couple of flags on there that help me use some filters in various screens, right? So there's an employee cycle Boolean and a resource cycle Boolean. What I use those for, and I'll show you, is on my Workcenter management application. When I'm adding a new Workcenter and I want to select a shift group for that Workcenter, I can impact that with a filter on that select drop-down list, where it's only going to show me the shift groups where this resource cycle is true, right? So that's just an example. I'm also going to use this usable flag as well. So generally throughout the course of our application, master data or setup data, you'll typically see a usable Boolean, and that defines whether or not that particular thing or piece of data is going to be accessible or usable through the rest of the application. So if I have a shift group that I am no longer using because that shift group was, 2024, and I'm no longer using that shift group, I can go into that shift group, uncheck usable, and it will no longer show up in the drop-down lists for my users when they're adding a new work center, for example. So now, shift group very well may be, and in fact it is, a required field on my work center. I can tell that because of the little asterisk here. So having said that, if I go in and I only have one shift group in that table and I make it not usable, right, I turn that flag to false, then my users won't be able to create new work centers in the system. So that implication obviously applies to this specific use case, but think about that in the broader spectrum of adding locations. If I don't have a usable location status or location type, or adding a product, if I don't have usable product status codes or product types, right? So that's how we use that usable flag to drive the behavior through the front end. You'll see with master data and transactional data, we call it active, right? Because master data is either active or inactive, and transactional data is either active or inactive, where setup data is usable or not usable, because it gets really confusing if you use active on setup data. For example, in a table that would represent the life cycle or the status of something else, to have an active flag in there kind of contradictory to what the whole point of that table is, right? Because then you would have, for example, a status called inactive, and then it would have a flag called active that would be true because you want it to show up in a drop-down list, right? So that's why we use the different terms, whether it's a setup data type over here, or this one here should really be master data type, right? So I can change that on the fly, not a big deal. So I just wanted to point that out. There is a join between these tables, and I can tell because this is coming from the left to the right, I can tell that this is a one to many relationship. So one shift group to many work centers. Obviously that makes sense, right? I wouldn't want to create a shift group for every single work center. And that's sort of the reason why we have this hybrid Mongo database model, is because in a typical Mongo database type setup, I would not even have this shift group. It would all be embedded on this Workcenter model. And so every single work center in my system effectively would have its own shift group. And that would become a bear to manage and maintain. And then to be able to update that or change that or modify that in one place and affect that change across many work centers would be, it's still doable. It would just be more challenging. So let's dig into this Workcenter data model a bit more. As you can see, it's version 124. So I've done a lot of changes on this data model. As I mentioned before, I use this particular environment for all of my demoing and testing and so on. So let's zoom in here and take a look a little deeper here. So every schema, every data model in Fuse is going to automatically have this ID field, right? So that is the unique ID for every record in that table. Every system has this. Every system does it a little bit differently. In Fuse, we use what's called a CUID, a CUID. So it's a unique ID for every single record in every single table throughout Fuse. So you'll never have the same ID for a work center that you would have on a product. And you'll see that in some other systems where they just use like an integer value, right? So something like 1, 2, 3 as an ID for a field. We see this in some ERP systems actually, where you can have an item with a ID of 1, and you can also have a work center with an ID of 1. And we took a different approach because we wanted the application to be a lot more resilient and robust and scalable. And that is just not very scalable of a solution there. So our IDs are CUIDs. Now, when you're creating an application, there may be a very good reason why you do not want to use the out-of-the-box CUID generation. So you can actually force that ID to be just about anything that you want. For example, let's take a look at another table. Let's look at something that's a setup table, like a status of some sort. So if we look at, like a lot status, any status, it doesn't matter. This is a setup data type, and a status defines the life cycle of that particular object, in this case, a lot, right? So like for lot management, it has an ID, and it also has a name. My preference here, if you're looking for a recommendation, is that in any setup data, the name field and the ID field should be one for one. So if my status happens to say expired, the ID should also say expired. And the reason why I do that is that it makes importing and uploading master data much easier. It also makes building out your business logic in our flow designer a lot easier, because now you're using things that are common, right? So I could say in this case, don't allow me to use inventory that's tied to a lot where status is equal to expired, rather than a CUID, which is very long, 20 plus alphanumeric string that you're never going to remember. So that means anytime you're using that, you have to go look up the ID, and then you have to put that in your flow. And then if you're troubleshooting that, you don't really know what that is or what that represents. So anyway, it creates a lot of challenges. So the recommendation here is for setup data. When you're building your screens, your UI, etc., you can even set transforms default value on this, where the ID would be equal to whatever the name data coming in is. So there's a number of ways to do that automatically, but definitely something to remember. Whereas with master data and transactional data, the preference would be to use the CUID, right? So that means that it's going to be unique across the entire system. You'll never have any duplication of that data, and that's going to be really important for reporting, transactions, and things like that. So Workcenter, we are just using the standard ID. It is required, and it must be unique. We are assigning every Workcenter a code. So that's going to be a shortened, abbreviated version, typically of the name of the Workcenter. So let's say I'm in a stamping plant, and my Workcenter is a Minster 400-ton straight side press, right? That's the name of it. The code might be, M400-1 or something, right? It's completely defined by you, by the user, by whoever manages your Workcenter data. And typically the code is what is going to also be unique and required. The code would also correlate directly to the input and output location for a Workcenter. So for example, if you're going to move inventory to a Workcenter to be consumed, that input location is going to have part of that code embedded in its name as well. So let's look at some of these other fields we have here. So we have a changeover PLC code. That's an integer, right, with a description here that'll show up. If the user does the little help tooltip, they'll see this description. That's an integer. By default, you'll notice too, let's talk about this data change capture. By default, this is going to be turned on. You can set the number of days to retain those data changes. And what that is it's an automatic feature. Again, it's part of the low-no-code functionality that if you want to track events and changes to certain parts of data throughout the system, you just turn that on. That means that anytime somebody creates, updates, or deletes anything in that table, we're going to capture that, right? The before value and the after value. If you create something from scratch, then the before value is completely empty, and the after value is going to be whatever values you've input into the various fields when you save that record. When you update a record, it's going to take a snapshot of what the current value set is and then what the new value set is. And all of that information is going to be available to you in the data change history. So if we go into our app components, we are going to see here, move that guy out of the way here. You got data change history, and you can go by record type, right? So we can go, if we can type correctly, we can look at the Workcenter, and then you can filter by date, let's say this month, right? And this is going to bring up all the data changes. You can see all the things I've done. And so this is a great place, and this is just a free feature out of the box that you're not going to get with any other low-no-code application. You would have to build all of this yourself, which is a monumental effort. It seems simple to capture these changes, but if you're starting with, say, another low-no-code tool that has the ability to just create screens and it doesn't have its own built-in database, then all of this you have to create by yourself. You have to create where this is going to be stored, how it's going to be updated, how you're going to present it to the user to view it, right? So this is a huge feature that you get basically for free out of the box just by checking this. And then how long you want to retain those changes for. That could be anything. I believe the default setting here is 90 days. So if I go to my toolbox and we want to create a brand new model, and let's call this a new Workcenter model, and we're going to put this into our Workcenter module, right? We've talked about modules, and this is going to be master data. We'll go ahead and create that table. So I'm sorry, I lied. Data change capture, it's 120 days is the standard, but I can change this to whatever I want. So I can capture that data change. Now, it's important to think about this when you're building an application, because if this model that I just created was something different, let's say it's transactional. Let's look at Workcenter history, for example. So Workcenter history, because this table is a historical table, it doesn't make any sense to turn on data change capture. All you're doing is adding overhead to your application, because every time something goes into this table, right, it is a history table, you're also creating additional history for the history, which you don't need. So there are times where you would want to turn that off and disable that feature to save yourself data and transaction volume in your application. Just wanted to point that out. Now, master data, I would argue you almost always want to have that turned on, because you want to know, did someone change this part? Did someone update this bill of material? Did someone modify this location? Because maybe the application's not behaving like it did previously, and having that data change capture allows you to now go in and assess if someone made a change. Maybe that's why the application stopped behaving appropriately, right? It may not be a functional issue. It could be very well related to data. As you know, MES, WMS, all of these are very data-centric applications. So we have, won't get into specifics here. This isn't to train you on how the Workcenter management works in Fuse, but more so just to talk about how you would go ahead and create your own Workcenter management, right? So I showed you how to create a new table. We dragged out model. We called it, new Workcenter model. And I'm doing this again because I deleted it previously, so I wouldn't normally delete this. So we're going to create that. And now I want to I'm going to keep these side by side so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. So I have my ID that's there automatically. I'm going to add a description. Workcenter related data. All right. It could be whatever I want, really. You can use some, ornamentation here. You can do some styling so that it'll show up in the help nice and neat. Data change capture, we're going to leave that on. I'm going to change this to a year. Again, it could be whatever you want. Really, 120 days is probably long enough in most cases. That's a standard rule of thumb. Now we want to start to add some fields. So as I mentioned, one is going to be code, right? So I want to have a code, and it's going to be a string. It's going to be required, and I want that to be unique. So I don't want to have two work centers in my system that both have the same code, because if an operator is trying to clock into one, which one would they pick, right? I'm also going to make sure that the label field is set to the code also, right? Work centers are kind of unique from an MES perspective, because one could argue that you might want the code and the ID to also be the same, just to make it easier if you're developing specific business logic for a particular work center, which a lot of our customers do. They'll have very specific control panels for a work center, and it needs to behave a very specific way. Maybe we're integrating with the machine, so there's some additional data flows that are happening. So you could argue that there is certain types of master data where you would want the ID and the code to be the same. That way, from a logic or coding perspective, you're using a value that's very easy to identify rather than some ambiguous string of alphanumeric, characters. So moving along here, we want a code. I'm going to give it a name. The name is also going to be a string. I don't know that I need that to be required, nor do I need it to be unique. Now, on the individual fields here, you can also remove these from certain data capture. So if there are fields on this table that you're like, I do not need or want to know if that field is ever changed, you can turn that off at the field level. Right? So you have a few options there as far as that is concerned. Now, I want to know if this Workcenter is active, meaning can I schedule work to it? Can I select it in a product bill of material? Can I clock into it, etc. So I'm going to add an active, and I'm going to change that to a Boolean. So a Boolean is a true or false value, right? It's think of it like a checkbox. So when we go ahead and add this to our screen, we will make it a checkbox from a filter perspective because we want the users to be able to search for all active, all inactive, or the combination of both. So we have a special checkbox which gives us those three options. Now on the form that we're going to create, where we're going to be making a new Workcenter, we're going to give them a switch because a switch is binary. It's either true or false. So that means I now am requiring the user to make that thing active or inactive when they create it or edit it. I'm not giving them the option to make it either. And you can see here, this checkbox, this is a prime example. So this can be a hash mark, means it's undefined, right? So it's neither active nor inactive. That means it's active, and that means it's inactive, right? So that's something to keep in mind there. Now, let's do something else. Let's just say that I want to have a serial number on this Workcenter asset for some reason, right? And it's going to be a string, and that probably needs to be unique. Maybe it needs to be required. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And the reason why I'm going to save that real quick is because I'm going to open up a new screen, and I want to show you how we can use our sequences in Fuse to set a default value. So we have a few options here. You can set no default value, which means anytime you create a new Workcenter, because I made that field required, you're going to have to make sure that the user gives you a unique value in the form, the update or create form. I can go and do a static value. So this would be a string, which wouldn't work because in this case I said it needs to be unique. So I can't set a static string value that would never be unique. It would be the same every single time, right? I can set an expression. So an expression would be like a transform where maybe I want to take a couple other pieces of data. Maybe I want to take the code for the Workcenter and I want to take the name of the Workcenter and I want to concatenate those together, right? So I would want to do something like, name and code, right? And I want to put those together to create a unique combination and use that as my serial number. Probably not a great example for a Workcenter, but you get the point there, how you can use expression. And then last but not least would be sequence. And this is what, in the case of a serial number, unless that serial number is being created by some external source, right? So if this were say a VIN number for a car, and you're creating that VIN number in a third-party application, you wouldn't use a Fuse sequence, but rather you would just have it be unique and required, and you would not provide a default value, and then we would make the user provide that serial number as part of that transaction, or we would get that serial number through an integration call to create this new item, this new object, right? So the last one we're going to look at, though, is the sequence. So I'm going to open up our sequences. So, and this is under the app components, which you can get to under the avatar, and you go to app components, you can get to the same place. So let's say we want to create a new sequence. I won't because I don't want to mess this up, but let's look for, show you how these work. Sorry, it would be inventory is one that I usually look at, right? So So we have the inventory number, which is essentially the serial number that we assign to new inventory records in Fuse, right, for the MES. So if we open that guy up, so we've assigned a prefix to it. So every inventory created in Fuse is going to have a prefix of S, and it's going to have 10 digits after it, right? So essentially the starting number is going to be S0000.1, and then S0000.2, right, and so on. And then you can see here that the number that we're currently at here, right? So this is the last value that we've used was 906. So you can edit this. We can reset if we're doing some testing or something like that. We can set the next value, which is helpful during an initial implementation, right? Or go live where maybe you already had a serialized inventory system, so now you need to start at a new set of numbers. Maybe you just do a new prefix and start at 0. But for like work orders, for any kind of transaction where you're going to be generating a sequential number, you can come in here and you can set the value, you can reset it to 0 to do your testing over again, etc. So it's very simple to set up. You can add a new sequence. You could give this, new Workcenter sequence. We can give it a prefix, NW, a suffix if we want, 0 padding. I don't have to. And I just create that sequence. And once I've created that sequence back here on my data model, if I wanted to use a sequence for this, I would go default value, sequence, and I would look that up, right? So let's pull up that inventory number that we just looked at. So the other option that I have here with the sequence is I can define that unique series of numbers based on any key field within this model. Now, it has to be a unique field, and what that means is that for every one of those unique keys, I can have a separate list of sequences, right? So let's find an example. Maybe, so if this were an inventory item, inventory object, and I want my inventory sequence to be unique based on the customer that owns that inventory, right? So if I have 5 different customers, each of those customers has their own inventory that they own. And for each of those customers, I want them all to have their own unique sequence number. So I could do that. I could just pick the key field, right? In that case, it would be like the customer ID. And for every unique customer ID, they would have their own separate list of sequences. So there's some options in here that you can use to really be pretty sophisticated when it comes to sequences, honestly. And again, that's something that typically in any other low-no-code application, you're going to have to develop all that on your own. You're going to have to create a concept of a sequence with its own data model, with its own user interface to set it up and configure it and define it, and then how you get that incorporated here, and then the business logic to not only create the sequence, but make sure they're unique and everything else, and auto-generate one when you create the new Workcenter, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on. Just creating that sequences feature by itself would probably take you several weeks in any other system. But we do it for you because these are standard things that we deal with in MES and WMS and manufacturing in general all the time. So that's the difference, again, with the Fuse platform is being geared towards manufacturing, not just generic. So you kind of get the idea here. We just add fields to the model. Now, when I save this, it's going to walk me through and it's going to make me version it, right? I have something wrong with that sequence because I didn't define it. It's going to save that as version 1. I can deploy that. So I can save it. I can work on it. Until it's deployed, I won't be able to create any screens around it or do any workflows with it or anything like that, right? Once it's saved but not deployed, it's just sort of in draft mode. Once I deploy that, now it becomes a live data model. And when you deploy it, Fuse is automatically going to generate all the APIs for that. And we use our own APIs in building screens and flows and everything else. So that's a very important feature as well, is that, in any other system, you'd have to build your data model. You'd then have to go and write or author or create your API to access that data model. You'd have to think, do I want to allow people to create update, delete, what do I want them to be able to do, and write specific APIs for all of those. In Fuse, it's pretty simple. Do you want them to create, update, or delete? You just check the box. Obviously, you have to be able to create, generally speaking. And this generates the APIs for us automatically. So we can also come in here and set indices on this model. So if this is a model that's going to maintain history or large volumes of data or information, we're going to want to think about what type of index we want to assign. This is Workcenter, sorry. So this isn't really a high volume data model. Even in a large manufacturer where you might have thousands of work centers, that's not a lot of data, right? We're thinking in terms of millions or billions of records. You're going to want to definitely set some indices on that to make it more performant when you're trying to create or look data up from that model. Now you can create different triggers. So these are going to be transforms in here, and these triggers on create, update, or delete can take data that's given into the API, and it can automatically create other data, right? So if I wanted to automatically generate the code, and I wanted to have a very well-defined pattern for how that code is going to be created every single time based on some other values that are provided, then I could remove the code field from the user input, and I could have a trigger on here that would create that code for me based on some predefined parameters, right? So tremendous amount of flexibility here within the data model itself. So yeah, if you go into a specific field, you also have at the field level whether or not you want to include in queries where create and update mutations. And you can also add an API level expression. So if you wanted to do something that always returns a value when you're querying data from this table, but that particular value doesn't exactly live in the data model, say it's a calculation, right? You could do a calculation. So let's say, for example, I have a start time on a Workcenter history, right? So I change the status of my Workcenter. It goes into downtime. It goes into downtime at 8:47 a.m. I have no end on that yet, right? There's no end date time on that because that event is still active. So that's an example of where we could use this expression to take the start time and calculate the difference between the start time and now using the moment function. And that would actually return to you not only start date, but the actual time that's elapsed since the start date when you ran this query, right? So you can build all of this in to the data model to make the other end of the application a lot less complex. And this is where this concept of citizen developers and more technical developers comes into play, because you might have your more technical guys working on the data modeling side and these expressions and things like this, making it really robust on the back end, where now I can have a production supervisor building dashboards and screens real easily because I'm already giving them the information they need. They don't have to think about how to write, a formula or anything like that, right? So there's all of these things to think about as you're going through building these data models. So last but not least, let's talk about how we would join things to this data model, right? So we looked at creating a new model, adding fields, different types, data types, Booleans, active, required, unique, expressions. That's a lot. Indices, the API generation, that's a lot of information to handle. But we're not done yet. So we want to have a Workcenter history. So there's already a join here. Again, a single Workcenter is going to have many history records for it. So it's a one-to-many relationship. Now, building a referential relationship in Fuse is super simple. I'm going to grab this guy and I'm going to drag it over. Here it's going to ask me, do I want a one-to-many? It's already inferred that most of the time I want that to be a one-to-many if I drag from left to right. Do I want it to be one-to-one, right? So maybe for every one Workcenter, I'll have one Workcenter history. Now we'll see that actually this one-to-one relationship in our MES model when you look at a work center and you look at production setup. Every work center has one and only one production setup. You can also do a many-to-many or many-to-one. So if I do choose many-to-many, that's kind of the interesting one. Fuse will automatically build what we call the bridge table. So I can have a prefix or no prefix and go ahead and hit this, and you'll notice that now I have this new model that just popped out here, and this is the many-to-many model because I can have the same work center many times with the same work center history also many times, and they can be any combination of those, right? Many work centers, many histories, they can all line up however we want. That's what this model here is for. And just by dragging that over, it automatically created all of this for me. So I could save this, deploy this, and it's live, it's ready to rock and roll. I could go start building my application. I'm not going to do any of that because I don't want to break my demo environment, but let's go ahead and reload this, and then we'll look at that work center model just one more time. So again, depending on how many data models you have, this may take a minute to generate. We have several hundred in here. So I can see that new work center model is blue because it's saved, but I haven't deployed it yet. All of the green ones are deployed, which means I can make screens for them. I can interact with them. I can do anything with them. And just, take a look at how extensive just the work center data model is. And the work center links out to all of these other things, right? It links out to quality and assets and work orders and product strategies. Man, there's a lot here. OEE, production run. So we can pull up production run. So notice I just found the relationship I was interested in. I clicked it, and it automatically opened that other model for me, which is kind of nice. Same thing here with production setup, right? That goes both ways. So you can see some of these relationships get, pretty complex to make an application like MES or WMS work properly. So, but this is the flexibility of the tool. And the ability to do this in this drag and drop environment is really nice because you don't need to be a developer. I am not a developer by trade. And so it's easy for me to come in here and visualize how things are going to be structured and work. And this is the area that you probably want to spend the most time on when and if you're building an app from scratch or even extending an existing app, is you want to make sure you get the data modeled correctly. And this might require a lot of design with your team, a lot of understanding of the business and the process, and what are some of the variables or flexibility that you want to build into the way you store the data. So you'll notice that the reason why we have so many models in our MES and WMS package is because we've built in a ton of variability so that it's not going to necessarily be one size fits all. It's going to have a lot of options in there that are going to be able to support many different use cases, many different types of manufacturers. Now, if you're building an application for yourself, you don't need to go to that extent. You need to think about building an application that works for your company, for your business, unless you plan on building something in Fuse that you want to resell. You want to publish it in our marketplace, and you want to make it available to other customers, other partners, other groups, right? So you can always do that as well. But you don't need to have the level of complexity that we have in here, right? So this is by design, not necessarily the way that you would approach building your specific application. So now we've built the data model. That's the end of this recording. Now I'm going to show you how we go from the data model to functional. We're actually going to jump right into the screen for the Workcenter management. It's going to be called Workcenter Management V2 at this point. So there's various iterations, and we'll get into that screen next and show you how to go from data model to screen and then end user functionality.